Picture a seed, teeming with the raw potential of life, ripped from its native soil and thrust into alien earth. It might sprout, it might even grow, but a brutal truth lingers. It will forever ache for the nourishment of its origins. This is the silent torment of many adopted souls, a deep-seated yearning for a sense of belonging that feels perpetually out of reach. Their journey is one of relentless resilience, a testament to the human spirit's ability to adapt and survive, but it is not without its shadows. Adoption, for all its tangled complexities, is often painted in saccharine strokes of heartwarming reunions and tales of children finding their so-called forever homes. While these narratives hold fragments of truth and celebrate the beauty of creating families through adoption, they often drown out the intricate emotional chaos that adoptees navigate. The harsh reality is that adoption, at its core, is born from loss, a loss that casts a long, unrelenting shadow on the lives of those who endure it. One of the most gut-wrenching challenges faced by adoptees is the deafening silence that cloaks their experiences. Society, in its cowardice, shies away from stories that shatter the sugar-coated narrative, sweeping the brutal complexities of adoption under the rug. Adoptees are force-fed the notion to cling to the bright side, the so-called loving families they were thrust into, the so-called second chances they were handed. While these are undeniably significant, the relentless pressure to bury the darker emotions is a slow poison. Picture a child ripped from a war-torn hellscape, commanded to be grateful for the privilege of a safe and loving home. This well-meaning sentiment is a cruel joke, ignoring the deep scars of trauma, the haunting loss they carry like a ghost. This emotional gag order breeds a festering pit of shame and guilt. Adoptees are trapped, feeling forbidden to voice their pain, their confusion, their rage, because to do so would be to spit in the face of the life they were gifted. This silence is a crushing weight, compounded by the absurd expectation for adoptees to be the poster children of resilience, eternally grateful for the families that rescued them. The societal narratives surrounding adoption often cast long, sinister shadows on the lives of adoptees, warping their self-perception into a grotesque caricature. These whispers of judgment and expectation infiltrate their interactions with the world, like a relentless invisible plague. The insidious lucky-to-be-chosen trope, a well-meaning but toxic sentiment, shackles them with a crushing sense of obligation, a relentless need to prove their worthiness of love and acceptance. This unbearable pressure warps their existence, driving them to overachieve, to be perfect, as if their very survival depends on justifying a choice that was never theirs to make. The romanticized view of adoption is a cruel joke, a blindfold that hides the brutal realities of racism, cultural displacement, and the agonizing struggle of navigating multiple conflicting identities. For transracial and transnational adoptees, the journey of self-discovery is a twisted labyrinth, further complicated by the alienation of growing up in a culture that feels like a foreign land. They exist in a torturous liminal space, caught between two worlds, never fully belonging to either, forever adrift in a sea of uncertainty. Picture a young girl ripped from her roots in China, now lost in the desolate expanse of rural America, a stranger in her own life. The search for identity is a brutal, relentless odyssey, but for adoptees this quest is a desperate scramble, a frantic chase through a labyrinth of shadows. The absence of a biological mirror, a void where their genetic heritage should be, gnaws at their soul, leaving them adrift, unmoored, and questioning their very existence. This void breeds a relentless gnawing uncertainty, a feeling of being cast adrift in a sea of unknowns, forever searching for an anchor. In this chaotic scramble, adoptees often resort to constructing masks, meticulously crafted personas to fit into the suffocating expectations of their families, their communities, and a society that demands conformity. They might bury their cultural heritage, suffocating it under layers of pretense, terrified of shattering the fragile illusion of belonging. This masking is a desperate act of survival, a way to navigate a world that often rejects their true selves. Picture a young man adopted by a white family who erases his own racial identity to blend into a predominantly white community. He avoids the topic of his adoption like a plague, fearing the barrage of questions and judgments that might follow. He mimics the mannerisms and interests of his peers, desperately trying to disappear into the crowd. This relentless code switching, often unconscious, drains him emotionally, leaving him fragmented and hollow. The Herculean task lies in reconciling the disparate pieces of their identity, their adopted family, their cultural heritage, their own fractured selves, into a coherent whole. This journey of integration is a chaotic, heart-wrenching odyssey of self-discovery, of facing brutal truths, and of learning to embrace the tangled web of their own narratives. It's about realizing that their identity is not shackled by the circumstances of their birth, nor is it solely defined by their adoption. It is a tapestry, frayed and torn, woven from the threads of their experiences, their relationships, and their own indomitable sense of self.